What's up, gangsta? YouTube right now, there's a real gangster going, what? YouTube, in recent history, YouTube CitizenTube has had a program, a little thing that they were putting together where ordinary people can post questions that they would like to ask to the President of the United States, Barack Obama. And people could generally ask whatever they want, and people could vote on each other's questions. And then theoretically, the way the program was supposed to work was that the top-ranked questions, the questions that people voted on the most, would be asked directly to Barack Obama. Now, Barack Obama wasn't supposed to have any time ahead of time to know about these questions, to be able to think about the answers. They were all right, this is the very first time you've ever seen this video, you're watching it right in front of us, and bam, what do you have to say about this question or about this idea? Or at least that was the way it was supposed to be done, but, oh, dog, you just been punked! The American citizens just got punked, because that is not what happened. Instead, almost all of the questions that ranked the very top, if not all but one, was asked to the President, but there was one question that got left out. One question that was the top-ranked question, the question that received the most votes, and that was left out entirely. And that was because that question was on the subject of weed, marijuana, cannabis, whatever you want to call it, Mary Jane. I don't know why I know all these references, but I do. The question was on the subject of marijuana, and does he think that it should be legalized? And yeah, so it was never asked of him. So the American people now do not get to know the answer to what he thinks about that. But so people are wondering what's going on. Some people are blaming YouTube, saying, well, maybe YouTube didn't have the guts, didn't have what it took to play this question for Barack Obama. I don't think that's the case, although I guess it's possible. The other group of people are saying, well, maybe it was the White House, because, okay, Barack Obama couldn't see these questions ahead of time, but the White House probably screened all these questions ahead of time, right? Or somebody in government, somebody had to look at this, and it's very possible that somebody important, other than Barack Obama, looked at these questions and said, no, that question could not be in there. So you guys are probably wondering what I think about this, or maybe even just a question of marijuana altogether. What do I think about this? Well, I don't think that marijuana should be legalized. I think that all drugs should be legalized. I believe in freedom. I don't know what to say. I believe that America is supposed to be free. I would like the entirety of the world to be free as well, but it's not. And my understanding of the constitutional freedom is that you should be able to do whatever you want with your life as long as you are not directly harming someone else. And so I got to ask the question, if I don't have the freedom to decide what I do over my own body, then what freedoms do I have? Now, I have to say this right now, this video isn't actually pro-drugs, okay? It's pro-freedom, it's pro the Constitution. YouTubers out there, my family, my friends, okay, don't do drugs. It's not a smart idea. But the question is, what should the role of government be? Should government tell me what I can and cannot do to my body? And in a free society with free people, I don't think that anyone's supposed to be able to tell me what I can and cannot do with my own body. So that's my understanding of freedom. And so, I've got to ask you guys, what do you think about freedom? How would you define freedom? Does it need to be defined? Freedom maybe shouldn't have a definition, because that's what freedom means. I don't know. Now, if you ask your nearest neoconservative if they believe in freedom and do they believe that people should be free, they'll be like, hell yes, of course I do. America is free, right? And they'll say that if you can get them to stop watching NASCAR or Fox News or listening to country music long enough. And if you ask them after that, well, do you think that the drugs should be legalized? They'll be like, what are you, some kind of hippie? Of course not. Drugs are bad for you. And we're not going to legalize that stuff, you stupid pothead. Generally things like that. And there's some major disconnect. I don't know where it comes from. It's like you just ask them, should people be free? And then you ask them, well, should they have the freedom to do this? And they say no. I just don't know where that comes from. And I think it's really, part of it is because people think that the government should ask the question, what is moral or what is safe for citizens to do? And it sounds like that people think that government should be our nannies, right, or our parents or something, that they should be trying to regulate our morality or our personal safeties. It is never the government's job to protect me from myself. Go write that down somewhere and live by it. It is never the government's job to protect me from me. And that's what I believe. And I believe that's what America was founded on. But of course, I want to know what you guys think about that as well. If you ask our last generation, well, let me put it this way. All growing up, the previous generation told us that we are free, and that's what makes America great. And that would make a pretty great country, but the last generation needs to buy a dictionary or go visit Wikipedia or go Google the word freedom or free. They need to do something because they have a really funny definition of freedom. People make the argument that if marijuana was legalized, that they'd be able to tax it and make money off of it. And there's another pool of people that say that they can never make money off of it, so it won't be legalized because they can't control it, and therefore it will never be legalized. And to that I have to say, really, Uncle Sam, you have to be able to make money off of me before I can have my freedom back? That's messed up. Also, something to keep in mind when it comes to marijuana is that state prisons and the state itself makes money off of keeping their prisons full. They make money off of every citizen that's inside of prison because it comes from the federal government. So they can actually make money off of putting people in prison, making money off of incarcerating people for doing things that I don't think should be illegal to begin with. I'd like to take a moment to just talk about the history of making drugs illegal. When the subject first came up of politicians wanted to make certain drugs illegal, they knew they couldn't just outright do it because it was unconstitutional. It was unfreedom. So they had to do it the way that everything is done, which is when you remove people's freedom, which is one step at a time. The first thing they did is made it where in order to get certain drugs, you had to get a prescription from your doctor. So overnight, your local doctor was the man. He was the local drug dealer, and all of a sudden he was probably making bank, and that worked for a little while. But then shortly after that, they started arresting doctors for malpractice who were prescribing these hard drugs to people. And then a little bit after that, people just kind of forgot that they ever had the rights to do drugs to begin with. And then local states started making laws about drugs individually. And so I want you guys to always keep that in your mind, one step at a time. That's how freedoms are removed, one step at a time. So ask the question, is there anything that's being regulated right now, that regulation is coming down really heavy? Because there's a good chance that one step at a time they will regulate it out of existence. But guys, this is just what I think about the subject. Obviously, I feel very strong about it. I'm a libertarian, so these things are things I think about a lot. But I want to know what you guys think about this. What about the whole question being, not being addressed on this program with Barack Obama? Who do you think was to blame, YouTube or the White House? And do you think that marijuana should be legalized? Do you think that all drugs should be legalized because we're free people and we should be able to decide what we do with our own bodies, even if it's theoretically bad for us? Because they're not our parents. What do you think about that? What do you think about freedom? What is your definition of freedom? Do you think people should be free? All these different things. I want to know what you guys think. Leave a text or a video response down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Take care of yourself. Stay awesome. I'm not a gangster like I tried to imply at the beginning of the video. And you stay classy, YouTube.